welcome to you both. We're here with Cliff and Cayden de Wit, and here for DevConf. So welcome to you both. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Philippa. Thanks for having us.
We're very excited to have a father-son duo here for DevConf 2022. I think I stand to be corrected, but I think it's our first father-son duo. So we're very chuffed. Yay.
Yay.
Cliff, we'd like to start with you. You're a returning speaker. And I'm curious, CTO currently of Netstar. You've got this amazing background in tech in South Africa. Obviously, having been a director at Microsoft, having been involved in one of the first internet banking apps with Nedbank. And I'm curious about your journey to home automation. It's quite a departure. Talk us through that. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I guess I've always sort of felt that to lead technology, and I guess my career has kind of taken me more into a leadership role over the last couple of years, is that you still need to be sharp, right? So I look for opportunities to play and to still write some code, and I guess look for an intersection or a nexus of doing something useful with that. And I guess that's where the home automation sort of passion came from. I guess I am an electrical engineer by training, so I kind of like that intersection of both software and hardware. And I guess this gives me the opportunity to kind of play with pretty cutting edge sort of hardware and where it's getting commoditized. And then I guess the amazing software, and especially in the open source community at the moment, with the really incredible things that are happening there. And then just to do something useful with it. So it's kind of a nice sort of intersection of those two, and just gives me an opportunity to do some cool stuff. And kind of if you gauge speaking to other people, there seems to be a lot of interest. I think a lot of sort of techies are interested in what they can do with that, and kind of often gives them a way to demonstrate something of value to their family or to their loved ones, because I discovered that the home automation very quickly becomes a part of the home, and it's not just you who kind of ferret on your pet project in your room, but it becomes part of what of what's happening in the house. So I guess that's kind of how it started.
So if I didn't, for example, attend DevConf last year in 2021, how would I be, would I be able to join you this year in 2022, or would I need to make sure that I've watched the YouTube channel and just caught up a little bit before I come and join you this year?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I suppose I'll try and give an intro, but I realized when I gave the talk last year that there was so much to cover there, and we really honestly just grew. I guess I underestimated how much content I wanted to try and get through. So it's really great to have the opportunity to come back, talk a little bit more, and based on the questions that I got last time, and we did put the YouTube videos out, and I think there were a bunch of comments about it. I'll try to kind of dive into a little bit of this stuff there. People can kind of take it a bit deeper. So it would definitely be useful to go and watch last year's session. I mean, there's also some really good content on the net. I mean, YouTube's full of good home automation content, but I think watching last year's one, I'll certainly try and build on that, and then just take people a little bit deeper into what they can do, and maybe just the art of the possible. I always like telling stories about what we're really doing in our house. So I'll try and use us as an example again, and just kind of show people what we're doing, and hopefully give them some ideas on what they can do right.
And talking of your house, Mr. Cayden, this is your first DevConf, and we are delighted to have you, probably one of our youngest speakers. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm 15 years old and got into an incredibly niche hobby in programming. Definitely one that's a very specialized section of programming. I think that's a very unique thing for somebody like me to do.
I think it's a unique thing for somebody like anybody to do.
Yeah,
So,
probably.
You obviously haven't lived through the terrible years of DOS and Windows 3.1 and all of those ancient evolutions. You've probably never even heard of them, but I think I probably have a book because
I've done mine.
Okay. So you've written, and your talk at DevConf is about the trials and tribulations of creating an OS from scratch. Tell us a little bit about your talk at DevConf. What are you going to be covering? What is it like, your talk?
As much as it is about my own OS that I kind of want to talk about, I also really want to talk about, the journey of it. And if you were to do it yourself, learn from my massive opening mistakes and, doing it right the first time, and just making the journey a lot more comfortable. So, setting up a very normal environment with, I'll probably use Linux because that's my operating system of choice from day to day, or I could probably, if I had time, talk about Windows and WSL, setting up, a good build system, a good run system, something that just, makes your life easy and thorough, and just the journey of it. A learning process, if you will.
I think it's probably desperately needed in this. So tell me, you obviously are, you don't have years of experience to draw on. Has that been a help, or has that been a hindrance for you, do you think? Do you think coming at it from a fresh slate has helped you create something amazing from scratch?
It definitely has given opportunities, but I would definitely say I would love to have experience, especially from when, x86, the architecture was small and you kind of just pile on the knowledge as you go. Learning something like the modern day x86, which is a very complicated thing, is definitely not helped because there's often so much volume you need to learn and then translate into code, and it gets very difficult. Yeah. So I'll often find myself having problems and then debugging them for days on end, and then, realizing it was the world's most minute problem.
Yeah.
It sounds like every testing process, I think. When you realize it's some little comma that someone's put somewhere, and you just go like, oh.
No,
So
but
who helps you debug your code?
Dad helped me once or twice to get the rubber duck debugging process, if you know that is, down to a fine science. But most of the time, you can't just attach a debugger to your code and off it goes. Most of the time, you're going to be working with hex dumps and all of the monstrous, archaic versions of debugging. So I've really just gotten to a standard style. It's probably what a student would do. Instead of opening up a debugger, there's just a lot of printf involved.
Yeah.
So tell me, where would you like to see your operating system go? What is your kind of vision for it from here?
Operating system development is a very niche category in programming, and I doubt it will really go anywhere besides being a hobbyist operating system. There have been one or two commercially successful operating systems that have been written by hobbyists, but they were really, really, really specialized operating systems. So I can't confirm it, but I believe I read somewhere that one guy wrote an operating system that was specially designed for monitoring networks and all of that stuff. It was never adopted in desktop because most operating systems that we use today it's very monopolistic. You have 3, maybe 4 operating systems that are just commonly used today, and nobody's really made a dent in that market since Linus Torvalds and Richard Matthew Stallman.
So are you going to be in your own capacity for your next steps person? What is going to be your next project, do you think?
Very good question. Writing an OS is a really big project within itself, and I am not really sure I would like to do anything else. There might be rewrites or other attempts at different tries at operating systems. So I'd really like to just stick where I am in my current hobby, because it's out of all the areas of programming I've tried. At one point, I called myself the jack of all trades, master of none. Operating system development really has just been my, niche.
Okay. So your dad, it sounded like from your overview at DevConf that your dad advised you against writing an operating system.
Oh, it's a very funny story. Should I tell it in full?
Your dad's going, no, so definitely yes.
Okay, we rebuilt the house not long ago. That leads into Dad's talk, where we installed all of the awesome home automation things. But we were rebuilding the house, and that involved us, packing things away and then unpacking. And we were unpacking. I came across Mom and Dad's old university textbooks. And one of Mom's old university textbooks was this ancient book about writing. Well, not just writing, the theory of operating systems. I remember showing it to Dad, and I was like, doesn't this look cool to you? And he looks at me and he goes, there is no way in hell you are writing an operating system. Of course, me being me, and like any teenager, I took that advice and decided to not follow it at all.
Yeah, that's how you got to writing an operating system at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Cliff, we need to talk about raising boys. Hey, I've raised 2 now. That's literally the opposite of how you say no.
Yeah, but there was method in the madness. So.
No. Okay, I get it.
You see now.
So guys, tell me, having a dad, actually, well, Cayden, having a dad presenting at DevConf, is it a bit daunting or not at all for you, having a dad presenting at DevConf and knowing that everyone knows that he's your dad?
It's definitely almost, how do I put it? It definitely doesn't daunt me. If anything, it's comforting. The only bad part about it is I'll have to compete with people and to get the favorite talk out of the 2 of us.
Oh, you have age on your side, so it's fine. Do you have any idea what you want to do when you leave school, or not sure yet? You have time, by the way. There's no pressure.
The current subjects I've chosen means something to do with computers, computer engineering, computer science, or if I'm feeling very risky, I can just skip uni altogether and try to get a job straight from there, but that's probably not the idea.
Okay. So do you think having a dad in tech has in any way shaped your career path or interest path, or do you think this is something that you inevitably would have come to?
That's a very good question. And should I tell a long story for this or cut it short?
Keep it similar.
When I was younger, they made us do elementary programming, right, in school, and I hated every second of it. There was basically nothing I would give to not do it. And, you know, having a dad who was in tech, it was pretty blatant that he did not approve of this notion, to put it gently. And so one day he encouraged me, I was in high school, beginning of 8th grade, and he encouraged me to take another shot at programming. And, you know, he sat me down and he helped me through it. And it just clicked that one day. And that's when I knew that if it wasn't a career path, it was a hobby I'd keep for the rest of my life. So it was definitely him that got me back into the art of it.
Yeah, and we actually talk about this a lot, and it's kind of an interesting question because it has made us think a lot about, you know, the education and the way programming and sort of tech subjects are taught at school. And Cayden's often said, I think the reason it didn't work is that it wasn't fun, and it was all just about who could do it the fastest or just getting through the theory. And I think there's probably some learning in there for schools and for the way, you know, tech subjects are taught to kids. If it's done in a positive way and done in a fun, exciting way, I think we'll find a lot more children sort of gravitating to this as a career, rather than just another subject at school, whether it's learning theory and you grade it on how quickly you can do A, B, and C. And so I mean, it was really interesting working with him and understanding why he didn't like programming at school, and how by trying a different approach, he's really found a love for it. And so that's been a very interesting learning experience for us, and hopefully something we can share back with the community, and I guess all of us can maybe help our various schools and maybe our kids really understand that this is something that can be really interesting, really fun, and hopefully turn into a very meaningful career one day. So it's been a really interesting experience working with him on this.
And like me as a teenager right now, we did basic programming in Python in grade 9 last year, and I just remember seeing people, you know, and hearing people go, oh great, it's a programming class, you know, hoping we've got like breakneck period, let's just hope it gets there faster. And you know, you see people typing on computers with 2 fingers and they don't know how copy paste works. And I really think it's skills that should be taught to people, but in, you know, a way that makes them want to learn it. Because unlike a lot of other subjects we teach, which I still deem important, like maths, computers are one of those things that are going to become unavoidable in our lives.
It was actually my next question was, how do we get more kids involved? I mean, how do we, when I was at school, I did a project and I was late for something, and I actually got my my mom to write the project for me. It's not a good lesson to do, but she was a fantastic programmer, and she wrote, and she was absolutely outraged that she barely passed the project. I saw it as vindication myself, but it was because she didn't do it in exactly the way the teacher wanted it laid out, and you know, and it's just sucked all the joy out of that class. And as one of only 3 females in the programming class, it was super frustrating. So yeah, I think it is definitely one of those things that we need to try and get more kids in more schools into teaching it in a way that is fun and engaging, and you want to learn, you want to go off and build your own Heaven Help Us operating system, and use it for really cool things.
Exactly.
Again, the central idea is make it fun. You know, one of the worst things was they pitted kids against each other, and they took marks off you for being slower, and you know, and I know it's like your example is they mark you down on method. It's like what they used to do in math classes. You know, you didn't do it the school's way, you didn't get your marks, and that's just one of the things we outgrew it with maths. At least where I'm at. We outgrew this. This is something we have to outgrow with programming too.
I think that's a great talk, place to end that specific question. So my next question to both of you is, are there any specific talks? I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at the rest of the talks that are up for DevConf, but are there any specific talks that you guys are excited to attend? We've obviously got 2 days that you're going to be there for. You'll probably be prepping before your talks, but are there any other talks that have stood out for you, the ones that you want to attend?
There was one that stood out for me, artificial intelligence using deep learning. I'm not very good with artificial intelligence, but teaching a virtual car how to drive. I thought that was just absolutely brilliant. It's stuff like this. I believe the word DevConf used was actually infotainment, right? Was providing information in an entertaining way. And it's just something like that just really gets me. Just something fun. Like,
I'm not sure who's doing that talk, but I will look it up.
Who doesn't want to see a car drive?
Cliff, did you ever show him the talk on the potato cannon?
Oh, I didn't.
Potato cannon.
Yeah, it was. That's a good one, actually.
I do believe it. Didn't it cause a fire? I do believe that there was a story there. It's something.
I know that speaker. Yes. We won't talk.
Yes. Cliff, in your case, have you had a chance to have a look at any of the talks? Is there anything specific that you are going to be looking for to attend?
Yeah, I really like Jade's talk on AI as well, especially the one on data. I think she called it "You Need to Know Where Your Data Is."
Yes.
That's I mean, I've seen her speak before. I think she's great on the subject. So I think specifically for me and where we're at, machine learning is very relevant at the moment in both in my personal world, but also in the work world. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think it should be super interesting.
And Jade is a very passionate speaker. We're actually doing an interview with her, which will be up over the next few days as well. So
yeah,
for that one as well.
She's great.
She is great. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I know that it's the end of a long day, so thank you very much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for interviewing us. It's good. Thank you.
We've enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it. We're looking forward to your talks.
Yes, I am, even if I'm completely nervous.
No, you'll be fine. You'll be fabulous.
Thanks, Philippa. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, gentlemen.